said I was going to lead this episode. Hello, family, and welcome to this episode of Realtor.ish, where we will be tackling the topic of the 3 most common myths that are out there that you're probably hearing in the news about today's housing market. And if you didn't know, you are talking to your girl, Agent Brandy Davis. And who else do we have on the microphone this morning?
I guess you can call me Agent Jamar Davis.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And we are the husband-wife duo of Buy, Sell, Love, Maryland of eXp Realty. So, Jamar, before we get into debunking these myths, how's the real estate market?
Yeah, it's interesting. Right now I got 2 buyers. It's hard to get listings nowadays because everybody's kind of a little shy. It's not saying that people aren't listing their properties, but right now I got 2 buyers in the hopper. One under contract, one we're trying to get under contract. So, hey, it is what it is.
So, as a buyer's agent, like, what is one of the biggest challenges that you're facing with getting your clients under contract?
We still got a few stingy sellers.
Stingy sellers. Sellers, you are not stingy.
No.
What do you mean by stingy sellers?
There are still a few sellers who don't want any contingencies, meaning that they want you to buy the house without an inspection contingency. They want appraisal gap still. We lost the deal probably because of a rent back. So it's all kind of things. Even some of those things are still kind of applicable. Financial contingencies.
I accidentally hit my mic. So Jimmer's giving me the evil eye. Sorry about that, y'all. Go.
So those are the type of things that's still going on. Let's see. So out of the one buyer, we did 3 offers, 3 different homes, and all of them had something different around what it was.
And 3 offers for one buyer is not anything that's uncommon. Right now, I am nurturing a referral who is actually with an agent who is charging a $300 cancellation fee. And I was like super shocked. They have been working together for a year, and I think a year is what she was saying, at least 6 months. And have put in about 10 or 12 offers. And so it's still a seller's market. Like, folks are like, oh, it's a buyer's market. We're in a recession. We're this. No, inventory hasn't caught up. Sellers' mindset around their properties is not reflective of the increase in mortgage rates or the increase in competition. This isn't 2021, which was a magnificent year for my clients who were selling their homes. It was also a great year for my buyers too. Like, interest rates were half of what they are now. But that leads us into like some of the myths that are going on in the housing market, because a lot of times, so as you all will, if you don't know already, you will come to know that I do love Lester Holt. And sometimes I go to sleep watching him on YouTube to get my news of the day. And Lester is very much like, this economy, this housing market, he is a naysayer. He scares me, and I'm a realtor. And then I have to remind myself, like, this isn't true. This is just the spin of the news. And that there are some myths that are out there. So let's go ahead and get at some of these myths. Myth number 1. I know you've heard it. I've heard it. Home prices are going to fall. Jamar, tell me more about that. What do you think about this myth?
It's interesting. We're looking at Keeping Current Matters, and it looks like, it's a little bit of fiction about thinking home prices all of a sudden is just going to fall out the sky and be back to where it was. We talked about this in the last podcast. Like, it rose 40, 50, 60%. We've had a lot of appreciation. And so to think that home prices are also all of a sudden going to fall 50, 60, 70, $100,000 is kind of misleading. So let's talk about a few definitions. So you have what's called appreciation, or an increase of home prices. You have depreciation, which is a decrease in home prices. And then you have what's called deceleration, which is an increase of home prices, but it's at a slower pace.
Right. And we don't hear a lot about deceleration. What we hear a lot about is appreciation and depreciation. And when we hear that, a lot of people, get a little nervous, get some butterflies in their stomach because we're either talking about home prices going up, home prices going down. And for people who are homeowners, a lot of times they're just thinking, oh, this is going to be a signal that this is going to be another 2008. But it's not. 2008 and what we're going through now are two very different scenarios. I don't think anyone in the government and lending wants us to get back to 2008. So, Jimmer, tell me a little bit more about what is deceleration. I know it's the increase in home prices, but at a slower pace.
Yeah, what it's saying is that even though we have higher mortgage rates and now we're going to start getting a little bit more inventory, it doesn't mean that the prices are going to decline. What it is just going to decelerate the market. And so homes now prices are going to just appreciate as they always did, but just at a slower pace.
Right. Selma Help, Deputy Chief Economist at CoreLogic explains, quote, higher mortgage rates coupled with more inventory will lead to slower home price growth, but unlikely declines in home prices. So when you're on Zillow and you see a home that's on the market for $450,000, and then 31 days later they reduce to 425 or 415, is that a decline in home prices?
Because somebody changed their price?
Mm-hmm.
No, that was just their choice to get their home sold.
Right. And so as you are on like your I call them big girls, your Zillow, your Realtor.com, your Trulia, and you see what's called price adjustments, that just means that the seller is really responding to the market. And so what a price adjustment essentially is that we were aggressive when we came in with our price. But buyers aren't seeing the value of a $450,000 home based on the number of showings. They've looked at the images online and they're like, I'm not spending $450,000. And so sellers adjust their price. Oftentimes I talk to my sellers about adjusting their price so we could get buyers in, and then buyers will be able to make the decision of the value of what they think the value of the home is. List price does not equal offer price. List price does not equal sale price or the price that we go under contract for. So being able to partner up with a real estate professional who understands that helps both buyers and sellers at the same time. So make sure you get with someone who understands the market. All right, myth number 2. The housing market is in a correction. So I believe that myth until I read this article, because I was like, yeah, we're correcting. Like, we're going back to pre-pandemic everything. You said it to me, right? But in the article by Keeping Current Matters, when it talks about the housing market is actually not going through a correction. Go ahead and take it away, Jamar. What is it really talking
Interesting
about?
enough, they got a quote from Forbes saying, this is how they defined a correction. A correction is a sustained decline. And so we're not going through a sustained decline of a value of a market index or price of homes. A correction is generally agreed to be a 10 to 20% drop in value from a recent peak. Right now, it's roughly about, and it's really in pockets, right? Depends on where you are. Like if you were in Austin when everybody's migrating from California, or people were migrating up into Oregon or in Colorado, some of those places are seeing a drop, rough around 4 to 5%, 3 to 5%, because that's where everybody was migrating to the time, and it was hot. It was a hot thing to do during the middle of COVID. People were doing what we call geo arbitrage, where they're moving from places where they're spending a lot of money to places where their money goes further. And so they went into those markets and they had cash. Think about in California, you're selling $1 million home that's only 1,300 square feet, and you get to Texas like, oh my God, I can now take 500,000 and go buy 3,000 square feet. So they were moving to those different locations. But those are where you're seeing a drop in housing. And again, it's anywhere from 3 to 5%. But a correction is 10 to 20%, and we're not seeing that in the marketplace. So we stand corrected.
And then myth number 3, the housing market is going to crash. So I've seen YouTube videos that have said this. I have heard people say this. I hear this a lot as a seller objection when I'm on listing appointments. Investors say it all the time. I typically don't work with investors, but Jimmer does. We all have to know our niches. I like traditional buying and selling of real estate, but the market is going to crash. So, according to Logan Matsushima, the lead analyst for Housing Wire, he says as the recession talk becomes more prevalent, some people are concerned that mortgage credit lending will get much tighter. This typically happens in a recession. However, the notion that credit lending in America will collapse as it did from 2005 to 2008 couldn't be more incorrect, as we haven't had a credit boom in the period between 2008 and 2022. So, and this is exactly what that's at the premise of everything that we say. When we talk to buyers and when we talk to sellers, we have to be intentional about educating our clients about the difference between 2008 and what we're going through now. Right at the start of COVID, and some of you probably heard this story before, I had lenders who increased their credit limits. And I was like, well, why are we increasing credit limits? Like, I don't understand. They were saying because your credit is an indicator of how much of a risk you are to pay your mortgage payment. So the higher your credit score, the less of a risk you are. And so I had one lender actually raise their credit requirement from over 100 points. They couldn't have been, I don't think they were in the 600s. I think they were still 560. They raised it to 700.
FHA is 580. But a lot of lenders you will see will not do a loan for anybody who's right at a 580. But even though in the government is FHA says that is the minimum credit score to get an FHA loan, you will rarely find any lender that will lend to anybody who has a 580 credit score.
Right. And if they are lending, if you think a 5% mortgage rate is high, and that's for someone with 640 or above, the lower your credit score, and when you find these lenders who are willing to lend to you, we're talking, I could only imagine, because like when the typical interest rate was 2%, the premium that lenders were putting on our clients with low credit scores, they were in 6s. So if we're at a 6 now, what? They're close to 10%?
Yeah, they'll put on what they call origination fees or whatever. They'll make you buy points or whatever because you're they want you to bring more money to the table, and there's more money to the table, they're going to increase your rates. So you can have a 580, but you better have like a 20-30% down payment to go with it in order to get a loan.
And one of the things that we do with our clients, so your monthly mortgage, if your credit score is low, we actually have partners who do credit restoration. When we first, because Jimmer bought a house, he's one of the special ones. Jimmer, how old are you when you bought your first house?
Ooh, I bought my first house at 22.
22. When you were 22, I was 20, so I was still in college, so I wasn't thinking about that. Do you remember your interest rate on your very first home?
Ooh, that's a good one.
You approximately. We don't, right. I know. Right. We haven't been in our 20s for about 20 years.
Man, that was in 99. I may have had if I vaguely remember, it may have been like a 6.25% interest rate.
I mean, do you remember how much you were paying and what your home, like, do you remember those stats?
My home was $98,000.
Wait a minute. It was how much?
It was a 1,400 square foot house. It was $98,000 is what I paid for my house. That was 99. And I was probably paying like I think I was paying around $1,200 a month.
Could you imagine? How many bedrooms and baths? Because square footage is relative.
I had a 3 1 3/4 bath, because when they had a shower, they was only calling it 3/4.
Just a regular bath. In today's terminology, how many bedrooms and baths?
It'd be a 3-2.
Thank you. Exactly. for $1,200 a month. So, I mean, we were talking for 98 for what, 98,000?
Yeah.
But that's Texas. Texas entry for homes are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. To whereas an entry level here in Maryland for a home, a single family detached, that looked as nice as his, we're 300s, 400s actually.
Yeah.
And that is one of the hardest things that I have had to put my brain around, because entry level pricing in Maryland for a first time homeowner, because everyone wants the quote unquote, American dream that we've all been, that's been marketed kind of down our throats since we were little. And that's a single family, detached. You have a yard, you have neighbors. But coming in at 400,000, that's not the reality for a lot of us. A lot of us, our first home here in Maryland will be a townhouse.
Hey, do you want to know how much my home is worth today?
Your home in Austin? I thought you were about to talk about ours. I was like, don't tell people the business.
No. The home I bought back in '99, I think right now
it's about. I'll do the drum roll.
I think the last time I checked, it was about $350,400 in Austin.
I thought you were checking now to give us an updated number.
Oh, I already looked at it. Looked at it not too long ago. Looked at it during COVID. It's about $350,400.
But what is it after? Okay, I'm not gonna go down because I'll hop in a rabbit hole and I'll follow it down. I thought you had just looked it up.
No, but that just tells you about appreciation. So going
back to myth number 2 or myth number 2. Appreciation was our key vocabulary word in myth number 1.
Key vocabulary word. So basically, it tells you
are going to fail.
They will appreciate you be in a home long enough. You divide those dollars out. They said the average appreciation for a home is anywhere from 2 to 4% annually. You had hyper appreciation during COVID,
right. And when he said earlier 40 to 50%, he wasn't talking about home prices increased 40 to 50. I wasn't sure what that percentage was, but that was not the appreciation during COVID.
No, it wasn't.
Appreciation during COVID was 4 to 7% year over year instead of 4% over the course of 5 years.
Yep. So those are the myths. We're debunking the myths today here on Realtor.ish. So again, give a real estate professional. We'll help you separate the fact from fiction. The housing market is still good. People still have jobs. And, the government still doesn't want to call it a recession because people keep spending money. That's the problem. People got jobs. People spend money. And when that happens, you feel like you got a healthy economy because people are still buying PlayStations and cars and homes or whatever. But again,
I don't think homes are a part of when you're talking about people are spending money. When you talk about the Fed's increase in the mortgage rate, it's not on long-term loans, it's on short-term
credit
loans.
Cards.
It's on credit cards. You'll see the impact on if you get a new credit card, more so than you'll see the impact on your interest rate on a 30-year mortgage.
Those Amazon boxes still coming. The Amazon truck does roll our neighborhood quite often.
And he stops at our house a lot. And it's not me. It's not me. It's not. I am instant gratification. I like going to the store, seeing something I like, and walking away with it. Other members of my family have no problem waiting for that same item.
I can't go to Walmart. I can't go to Target. It's painful.
But we digress. That's all about the Davis family. They like their Amazon. But what we want to do is leave you with a tiny tidbit. So understand that the market is not going to crash. Understand that the housing market is not in a correction and home prices are not going to fall. So if you're thinking about buying, now is a great time. If you're thinking about selling, now is a great time to take advantage of the market. And if you need a real estate professional to help you, guess what? You got your girl, Agent Brandy Davis. You can follow me online at your girl, Agent Brandy Davis on Instagram. And don't forget, it's Brandy with 2 E's because my mama's best friend's name was Dee Dee when I was being named. And then, Jamar, what's your, where can folks find you at?
And you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Buy, Sell, Love, MD.
All right, till next time. been real, Latrish.
Thank you.